And joining me now on the other side, our regular commentators, the three wise men representing Generation Y, the millennials, natural law expert, social commentator and small businessman, Mr. Rob McMullan. Stuck in the middle, as Generation X always are, former forensic accounting auditor, police officer, business guru and economic and political commentator, Mr. Scott Pelto. Welcome, Scott. And one of Australia's smartest boomers, a pioneer, an entrepreneur and the founder of the Red Unions, the unions you join when you don't want to support the left, Mr. Graeme Haycroft. Good to have you back, guys. Thanks for joining us again. So, look, lots to talk about today as well. But Graeme, I wanted to start with you. We had a couple of weeks ago the release of the COVID inquiry report, which has been slammed as a bit of a whitewash. Designed deliberately not to look at the states, to only look at the federal government, and it's 900 pages of pretty obvious recommendations, making recommendations to set up more organisations to look into things, of course, as bureaucracy always does. But there's some interesting stuff about what's happened to doctors in the COVID crisis, and I don't know that they got into this enough in the report, but tell us a little bit about what you've been hearing in terms of your union, because you have a union for doctors, right? That's not the AMA. It's the alternative to the Australian Medical Association.
AMPS, Australian Medical Professional Society.
Right.
Yes.
And that started during COVID.
Yes, it started as a consequence of it mainly. Our Vice President, Duncan Syme, was pinged by the bureaucrats in AHPRA, the Australian... Australian
Health Regulatory Authority.
Yes, because he said things. He actually made decisions about his patients, which if he made the same decisions today,
right.
In other words, his decisions were, you are not healthy enough to get a vaccination for the flu or for anything.
Oh, right.
Therefore, you should not.
You shouldn't have the vaccine.
Yeah. Right. And there were a lot of kids, particularly kids, that were. In doubtful health situation, no doctor would recommend that. If they did it today, they would be disbarred.
So, wow, the irony, right? So if they, so he basically got disbarred for doing something that if he didn't do today, he would be disbarred for.
Correct.
Oh my God. Okay, right.
And this decision is not effectively made by bureaucrats, unelected bureaucrats who are appointed, and this is something this whole system has to be unwound.
So why didn't doctors fight back?
Well, how do they fight back? Where were their political champions? Where were people that are going to run the argument apart from us?
Well, where was the Australian Medical Association?
Exactly. They won't walkabout, or worse, they actually were on the side of the controllers. Right?
Well, let's look at the report itself. Now, I had a look at some of the text in this report. Had a bit of a skim through it, so you don't have to. 900 glorious pages. But the preface, the first thing in the report, the COVID inquiry report, is an acknowledgement of country, of course, but then followed by an acknowledgement of lived experience, where we hear about all the trauma that people probably went through during COVID, right? Which is kind of nice, but let's get to the tin tack, shall we, folks? Then there were actions listed, but the actions were actions to set up more bodies to do actions. Which is typical bureaucratic stuff. And there were frightening statements to do the bleeding obvious, as if they were a revelation. And these obvious things, such as action number 9. Can we have action number 9 on the screen, please, Aaron? Action number 9 says, agree and document the responsibilities of the Commonwealth Government, state and territory government and key partners in any national health emergency. You mean the responsibilities aren't already documented? Wow. This should include escalation and de-escalation triggers for national cabinet's activation and operating principles to enhance national coordination and maintain public confidence and trust. Waffly waffle. So, great stuff that. Oh, how insightful. They had a crisis plan. They had crisis plans in place. That's basic crisis management stuff. And they threw them out. It's unbelievable. So, does this fill you with any confidence, Rob? As a dad, as a young father, that if we have another pandemic, everything's going to be hunky-dory?
The problem with this is, this is the attraction for me in natural law, because natural law says that, relationships should be reciprocal and that whatever the government wants to do is not like they can't just do whatever they want to you.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the United States with a Bill of Rights and free speech and that sort of thing, that's a natural law constitution. We don't really have that here, and I want to know. I think it left everyone asking, can they trigger certain powers, or under emergency powers, or under circumstances they can almost manufacture? Is there any limit to what they can do to people? You know, and it's funny that they start with a welcome to country. They want to redress historical wrongs and immoral transfers of property, etc., etc. But if you look at the financial costs, I mean, we've talked about housing affordability, inflation, birth rates. The response to COVID, which in my opinion was enriching to the bureaucratic class and certain business interests, but detrimental to the people, it's changed the financial and almost reproductive trajectory of a lot of the population of Australia. So why do they worry so much about such historical grievances when they're ignoring the current ones?
Yeah. All right. Now, one of the principles about the COVID mismanagement, which I was banging on about and several other people on the show were talking about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and in the middle of COVID, was that when you have a crisis, it's the role of the leader to take responsibility. It's the role of the leader not to abdicate responsibility to one technical advisor, as almost every premier did when they handed over power to the chief health officer. I'll do whatever the chief health officer says, That is not good crisis management. It's not good leadership. You're supposed to take an integrated approach. You're supposed to go around the table and ask everybody for their input and avoid any bias, any emotional bias.
But that's what you get with increasingly communist lefty bureaucracies, is an abdication of responsibility. I mean, that's the whole point of having a commissar, is that no one's responsible.
Right.
They can keep passing the buck. Everyone's just weak and behind the scenes. And how do you
exactly
pin someone
what this
down?
report's about? This report's about, we don't want to blame anybody. We don't want to point the finger at anybody.
Because they don't want to be held accountable.
Well, guess what Action 8 is? In the Action 8 to do in the next 12 to 18 months, establish mechanisms for National Cabinet to receive additional integrated expert advice for a whole of society emergency, including advice on social, human rights, economic and broader health impacts, including mental health considerations, as well as specific impacts on priority populations. Exactly what we were saying on this show in the middle of COVID and have been saying ever since. Any thoughts on that, Mr. Pelto, first of all?
Fundamentally, there wasn't a lot of balance in the approach, back in COVID days. And as you say, Damian, the fundamental purpose of leadership is to lead. So they have to because COVID had a lot of detriment across the board. We had to balance, the way that played out, and we didn't balance that. As you say, they put a whole lot of responsibility in what the chief health officer said, and that's what everybody did, and we're paying dearly for that now. We pay dearly because there was not just the economic consequence, which we can talk about in detail if you like, but the consequence to families, the consequence to mental health,
and physical health, delayed diagnosis of other illnesses,
education, businesses. There was a across-the-board significant detriment, and all of it led to much, much bigger spending, which you've heard me say before. When governments spend more, you pay for that through inflation.
And we're paying for it now.
Elon Musk just said it recently. He said government spending is like a tax. Well, it is. Inflation is a tax, and it's not direct to the individual. Everybody pays inflation indirectly.
Well, the ABC don't get it. They see no correlation between the inflation stories that they run and then the stories that they run immediately after.
Just to make the point
net zero and COVID.
People think inflation is prices going up. Well, inflation technically is an increase in the money supply. And the price is a result of that. Price inflation is a result of the increase of in the money supply without a reciprocal increase in goods and service production. And there's only one institution in society that can legally increase the money supply.
And that's the government.
They own the money supply.
That's
and
right.
it's not Coles and Woolies with their 2% profit jacking up prices. That's the
because
cover-up.
if you had a business without an increase in the money supply, then they can charge whatever they want. But if people don't have the extra money in society to pay for it, then they're going to have to pull the prices back down.
Can we talk about the elephant in the room?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Palaszczuk, McGowan, Andrews, the three worst premiers we've ever had, are now being rewarded for their misdeeds.
Jeanette Young being the governor now.
Can
Yes.
we just talk about the money?
Oh, the money.
The money, yeah.
Always go with
Firstly, just before I do, bureaucrats can make useful servants, but absolutely dreadful masters, right? But let's talk about the money. We, as a country, we ordered 250 million doses of the vaccine.
It's a lot.
It's like we got 25 million population. We probably
10 doses each.
Yes, and we all know from this. We all learn a bit about how vaccines work. The trouble with the coronavirus is they change all the time, so your vaccines have to change. But
We're not allowed to talk about that on this show, unfortunately, thanks to Google and our masters. But anyway, you go on.
Okay, so let's talk about the cost of it and how it was all handled. We know that we've got 250 million doses of this stuff, good, bad, or indifferent. We probably only used about 50, so we wasted. I think we spent 10 or 11.
What? We only used 50 out of 250 million doses?
Well, most people got 2. How many people got 3 and more than 3?
I'm sorry, I got 2 sometimes. But
There
anyway,
might have been 50 million.
Okay, so let's say, what did we do with the other 200 million? Did we donate them to poor countries, or what?
No, it's useless. You throw it out.
We threw them out.
It's all been gone. But let's now talk about there's money here, and I want to name some names. All of the stuff was all channeled through one particular lobbying firm. And let me be really clear. They did nothing wrong. They acted exactly according to the law.
Totally legally.
Absolutely.
Totally legally.
And there's no
I want to emphasise that. They did nothing wrong.
I'm saying this with a straight face. It's very important. In fact, that was the Michael Photius lobbying firm in New South Wales.
Okay.
Right? You've got to name him so that people can't impute, I didn't name him because he's bad. No, he's not bad. But he did rather well. We could have done rather well. And what the inquiry should have looked at and asked the question and say, righto, there's 250 million doses at around about $30. Now, what lobbying firms can do legally, all of them, they can charge a commission on the stuff. And the commissions for vaccines vary between 5% to 30%. And the country was buying for about $30 each. So at the top level, remember, it all went through, all the major big pharma companies were all registered with the Photius lobby group.
So Michael Photius, just who is he? He was a New South Wales Liberal, I think he was president of the Liberal Party of New South Wales for a
Power
while.
broker by his own. He was introduced as that on a
TV show.
A TV,
Okay.
and he didn't query it. So let's call him a power broker. I think he's proud of that. Nothing
So
wrong.
he has a lobbying firm, which is totally legal. You're allowed to do that. And he's done he was most of the deals had to go, or he was involved in a lot of the deals. Again, nothing illegal here.
Hunt made the statement that all of the supplies had to be sourced from overseas. Now, I don't know why he did that. There's an obvious reason, but I don't know why. This inquiry should have been asking that. Why was that decision made?
Because we could manufacture here. We were manufacturing here.
Well, look at masks. There's actually a major mask now, the N95 mask that we bought in. This guy is in Australia. He has a contract with, I think, the US Air Force. Right? So he's a major world supplier. We couldn't buy from him. So he had the joy of watching his probably 50 cents each mask going out of the country and coming back in at, $5? Okay. Well, that's been said. Why isn't this being checked? This is what the inquiry should be checking. And let me just do some quick numbers just to give you an idea. If you've got 250 million doses and there's a top-end commission of $10 or a bottom-end commission of, say, $1.50, somewhere along the line, someone made between 400 million and 2.5 billion. That's a legitimate question for the people of Australia to know what happened to that money.
That would be good to know.
If Mr. Photius got it, good luck to him. Good luck to him. And so, he's a legitimate, straight businessman. But who made the bloody decision that it should all go through one? So if it went through more than one, you'd get a competitive market going, and it would certainly be at the lower end. But it all went through one. I know a little bit about monopolies. The whole idea of a monopoly is so you can charge the highest, right? That's how it works. Yeah. Now, that's what this bloody inquiry should have been looking at. All this money, we spent somewhere $10, $11 billion, most of it clearly wasted, and all this other stuff. I mean, the mask and all of the money that was spent, no questions were asked about this. Right. This is before you go to the second level. was if indeed a lobby firm made that money, did anyone ask for any of it? No, I don't know whether they did, and I'm suggesting they did. But that's a legitimate thing for an inquiry to ask.
Yes.
And Dutton has got
Monitoring the spending of government funds.
Dutton has got to say, whatever this thing said, it's all rubbish anyway, as you've just pointed out. In the bin with that, Dutton should be saying we're going to have a proper Royal Commission when we get in on day one. You know, on day one we'll do, and say we'll do a property and we'll track down where all the money went.
Yeah.
That's the solution.
Well, that would be good. Let's do that. All right. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with the three wise men. But at the moment, we have to do a little bit of money earning of our own. If you have a Netflix or other streaming media account from a global company and you're on holidays and log in from another country, you may have noticed that shows that are available in those other countries are different. That's because different media companies have different deals with different streaming services in different countries. Imagine being able to log into Netflix, though, as if you were in America, or maybe a country that speaks a language other than English that you speak, to access more shows, but you can do it all without leaving your couch here in Australia. Well, there is a way. Private Internet Access VPN is a virtual private network. You download their app onto your phone, your TV, your computer, whatever you use, and it'll route your data through a different server location. Not only can you access more content, but a VPN keeps you safe and secure and your family safe so that you can't be tracked by prying eyes of big government and big corporations. And it will not massively slow down your internet speeds or make it harder to use your devices like some other VPNs do. Private Internet Access, PIA VPN. It's quick and easy to install, and once you've downloaded it, that is pretty much it. And the great news is if you sign up for PIA VPN, you are also helping the other side heaps and getting great value for money as well. And you can sign up using our special Other Side code for less than $3 a month. That's a whopping 83% off the normal price, and you'll get the first 4 months free. Just go to piavpn.com/otherside right now to get our special deal. That's piavpn.com/otherside. If you like that clip, there's more where that came from in our full show, The Other Side. You can watch it right here, the latest episode. And please subscribe to our channel by pressing the subscribe button right here or down here. And remember to click that notification bell too. It all helps. Join us and become part of The Other Side.